Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are hereby welcome to the 62nd Inaugural Lectures of Nnamdi University, to be presented by no other person than Professor Kelechi.
No.
And we have in our midst,
Not going out.
representing the Vice-Chancellor, is the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Professor Joseph Okechukwu. And we have the Vice Chairman and Acting Chairman of the Inaugural Lectures Committee, Professor Michael Ezenwa. We also have in our midst Professor Ada Samomeni, Director, Chikokoli Center for Entrepreneurial Studies, and other professors from the Faculty of Education and all around the university. I can see some HODs. I can see the last inaugural presenter, Professor Ekunobi. You're all welcome. As we remain standing, let's take the university anthem. Oh, unity, pride of prosperity, our nation, fountain of knowledge and of wisdom, source of hope and confidence, where freedom, truth, education we get. With reverence, we honor you. Are you music? Are you music? Discipline, self-reliance, and excellence, great unity. As we remain standing, I most respectfully call on Professor Azikiwe to lead us in opening prayers. May we remain standing. In Jesus' name we pray. Almighty Father, the great God, and the wonderful God, the I am that I am. Thank you, God, for this lecture today. Thank you for the journey message that you gave to us to be here. Father, we commit the presenter into your hands, and we ask God that you help him to present well. We ask God that the hearers of God shall benefit from the presentation, and we ask God that every activity that we have today shall go well. In Jesus' name we pray. Thank you. Please, may we be seated.
Infinix Smart, can you please mute your audio? I don't understand. You see, this is a general meeting and you're still putting your audio on. Can you please mute your audio? Infinix Smart.
Please, let me subtly ask that we switch off phones or probably put them in vibration, silent. You know, this is being live, so let us not disrupt the continuum of what is going on. Okay, may I quickly call on the Vice-Chancellor of our great university, Professor Charles Okechukwu Esimone, ably represented here by Professor Joseph Ikechebelu, the Vice-Chancellor Administration. Please, a round of applause for Professor Ikechebelu as he comes up for the opening remarks. Thank you.
The inaugural lecturer, the chairman of the inaugural committee, director of School Center, Professor Sam Omeyi, Ada Sam Omeyi, all the previous inaugural lecturers who are seated here. I've seen the 61st inaugural lecturer, Ekunobi, and at least has anyone given inaugural lecture? 30th inaugural lecture. Okay, full senior here. The 30th inaugural lecturer. And of course, Chike, the 59th inaugural lecturer. And of course, myself, I'm the 41st inaugural lecturer. So I'm among those who have given the inaugural lecture. So you are all welcome once again to this inaugural lecture of Nnamdi University. And want to appreciate all our distinguished professors and guests who are seated here, and many others who are watching us online. And to thank you for sitting in to listen to this academic function again. Our Vice-Chancellor is unavoidably absent because he has other engagements on behalf of the university, and for that reason, I'm here representing him. And today we are going to listen to our professor, Professor Kelechi Okoye, on a very important topic that is dear to his heart. That's why we profess. If we don't have anything dear to our hearts, we won't profess. And today we are talking about electrical electronics technology. And that's a technology indeed, because he wants to give us a pragmatic approach to entrepreneurship orientation for sustainable economy. I think this topic is very apt at this time, because the economy needs the economy, and not just the economy. Each individual needs sustenance, and we need to actually do the things that we can to keep life going in every way possible. And I believe that whatever somebody has in his hands, he can actually put it to effective use. And when you do that, you can keep yourself, keep your society, keep your family, and extend that to generations to come. I won't say too much. If not, I will be delivering the lecture, but I'm not an expert. So the expert will talk to us. And I will just assure us to sit down, listen to him. He is an expert in this field, and he wants to enrich us with the knowledge that he has acquired over the years. And I believe God will give him the eloquence and the ability even to mesmerize us this morning or this afternoon. And on that note, I will say this is Nnamdi Azikiwe University, where great things are happening, where good things are happening. And this administration is poised to take academics to a level that everybody will appreciate that being in the academia is the best thing that can happen to you. I want us to listen to him this time around. And God bless each and every one of us as we listen. Amen.
Please, a round of applause for the opening remarks from the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Charles Okechukwu Esimone, FAS, ably represented by the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Administration, Professor Joseph Ikechebelu. Please, another round of applause for him. Let us be reminded that this is the 62nd Inaugural Lecture. I'm not going to speak more than the Vice-Chancellor, but if you look at the topic, it says Electrical Electronics Technology Education, the pragmatic approach to entrepreneurship, orientation for sustainable economy. Where do we start? Technology, education, sustenance, and the economy. If I were you, I will listen attentively. And for those of us who have connected via the internet, this, I believe, is going to be a gold mine of academics. And where the town and gown meets. Once you see entrepreneurship and sustainable economy, everybody's ears in Nigeria, they prick up. They want to listen to how what Professor Reko will tell us will enrich our pockets beyond our salaries. And as we are gearing nearer, may I right now call on what I normally regard to as the flutist that will introduce the masquerade. No other person than Dr. Derek Martins Okechukwu Oji to come and read the citation of Professor Kelechi Okoye. Please, round of applause.
Please, may I respectfully invite Professor Kelechi Okoye. Please come forward. Citation of Professor Kelechi Okoye. 1965 is a remarkable year in history. It was a year of major revival and technological exploration. The year Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led the famous civil rights march in Alabama from Selma to Montgomery. The year cosmonaut Alexis Leonov became the first person to walk in space. Same year, 1965, most remarkably, on February 28th, Professor Kelechi Okoye was born in Olile-Eze village, Ogo local government area of Enugu State, to the family of Mazi Okoye and Madam Azikiwe Onyekelo. He had his primary school education at Ogo Town School, and he proceeded to Okigwe National Grammar School, Omuna in Imo State, where he obtained his school certificate in 1979. In 1986, he gained admission into the Department of Vocational Teacher Education, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and graduated in 1989. Professor Okoye obtained his master's degree and his PhD degrees from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, UNN, where he graduated in 1994 and 1999, respectively. In 1999, he enrolled for higher degrees in electrical electronics engineering in ESUT. He obtained a postgraduate diploma and a Master of Engineering in electrical electronics engineering in 2002 and 2006, respectively. He graduated as the best overall candidate in the Faculty of Engineering, ESUT, in 2006. His area of specialty is in electrical electronics technology. As a result of his brilliant performance, he was employed as an assistant lecturer in Technical and Business Education, Department, DELSU, in 1994. In 1998, he left DELSU to Enugu State University of Science and Technology and was offered the position of senior lecturer after his exceptional performance before the interviewing panel. In 2001, he was adjudged by the federal government of Nigeria as the best candidate from Enugu State for the TAC mission. This information is contained in Concord newspaper of November 22, 2001. And so in 2002, Professor Kelechi Okoye left for Ethiopia under the Technical Aid to Foreign Countries, TAC, as technology engineering expert. He taught in one of the country's prestigious university, Abamenchi University, Ethiopia, in the Faculty of Engineering, Electrical Electronics Engineering Department. And because of his excellent performance, he was promoted to the rank of Associate Professor and was invited severally to present papers at different universities in the same country. For his scholarly output, Professor Kelechi Okoye was promoted from senior lecturer to the rank of professor in 2008. He is currently serving and also had served the academic communities in different capacities. He's a consultant to Coventry University, United Kingdom, and has served as Sub-Dean, Faculty of Education, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka, Head of Department of Vocational Technical Education, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka, President General of OGO, Egbeleli Union, elected unopposed, and Chairman member, NUC Accreditation Team since 2014. He's an editor in many international acclaimed journals and has served and also currently serving in many tertiary institutions as an external examiner. Professor Kelechi Okoye has successfully produced 20 PhDs and 22 master's degree holders. He is a member of Nigerian Association for Teachers of Technology, Association for Promoting Quality Education in Nigeria, Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, Nigerian Vocational Association, and Nigeria Society of Engineers. He has over 111 journal articles published in reputable journals at national and international levels, and one textbook to his credit. Professor Kelechi Okoye is happily married with children. Currently, he is a professor in the Vocational Education Department, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the best of his kind, an illustrious son of Egbeleli Ogo, man of the people, Magister Electricae, Professor Kelechi Okoye.
Thank you, and thank you. Thank you, the Vice-Chancellor, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Professor Charles Okechukwu Esimone, ably represented by Okechukwu, Professor, the Dean, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Professor Okechukwu. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I may not go further to now start calling you one by one. But I have to recognize the chairman of the committee, inaugural committee, by Professor Uwakwe, represented by Professor Mike Ezenwa. I still have to recognize the immediate past inaugural lecturer, Professor Ekunobi, Professor Ekunobi. I have also to represent the Dean of my faculty, Professor Nkechi Ikedubu. I have always tried to emulate and try to follow the legacy laid down by eminent professor of Faculty of Education, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, in the person of Professor Professor Sam Adomeni. Professor Adomeni Sam, please, I remain loyal. I recognize you, and I'm happy you're here in the midst. I still recognize my brother, my friend, and my son in baptism of marriage, Professor Okechukwu. Professor, welcome. The Nnamdi Azikiwe orator, Professor Chike Okoye, you are welcome. All other members, please, I crave your indulgence. But still, I have to still recognize my friend, my son, my PhD candidate, who was able to make it from Asaba to be here, Dr. Adekola. Dr. Leo Ananamo is in the midst. Reverend Father Ike is in the midst. Others are here. Please permit me to go ahead with my lecture. You are welcome. Today, I want to educate us on electronics technology education, the pragmatic approach to entrepreneurship, orientation for sustainable economy.
Be able to meet these other persons. You can just tell them the same thing. It could be that.
Within me, I feel happy.
Like me, I have something.
I feel deeply happy because the God Almighty, in His infinite mercy, made me professor of electronics technology. He, God Almighty, also has made it possible for me to stand before you today to present my inaugural lecture. All honor and adoration to His holy name. An inaugural lecture in its understanding should be given relatively to at the inauguration of somebody's professorship. However, sometimes the engagements and events involving an individual could play some role in derailing one's ambitious course of aspiration. I am presenting my inaugural lecture about 13 years after my appointment as professor of electrical electronics technology. Nonetheless, I am still delighted. My true happiness stems from the adage that it is better to be late than never. I wish to thank vehemently the Vice-Chancellor, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Professor Charles Okechukwu Esimone, who has revived the deliverance of inaugural lectures in the university. And so has given me the opportunity to deliver my inaugural lecture today. It is the day of the God Almighty. My choice of the topic. Why did I choose this topic? Something motivated me. Some factors motivated me. And these factors made me to think inwards. And based on that inward thinking is why I'm here today. No matter how little it looks like, because I know in my education, in my wandering and traveling overseas and coming back here, I understand, for instance, I am currently the consultant to Coventry University, Britain. And I'm working under World Bank in Uganda. I developed their technology education today, and it is on course. What I learned and what I have observed made me to think inwards. What can we do in Nigeria? What can I do in my own vocation? What can I make? How can I make an impact to see that something is done and the society is revived? And that is why I'm here today, and that is why I choose this topic. My choice of the topic, electrical electronics technology education, the pragmatic approach to entrepreneurship, orientation for sustainable economy, for my inaugural lecture was motivated by some reasons. One, the relatively poor economic status of the country. This could be blamed on part to poor innovative attempts among the Nigerian university students or graduates. Most graduates depend on looking for paid employment after graduation. Number two reason, majority of the university graduates do not find paid job after several years of graduation from the university. Most of them lack innovative skills to settle down into a self-paid employment. Then a question comes into mind. Can the electrical electronics graduates innovate on the production and repair of little gadgets and equipment, applying electrical electronics principles as to offer them some self-employment? Three, the kind of stress experienced and the kind of suffering Nigerians pass through during incessant scarcity of cooking gas, kerosene, or fuel in the country. This is one of the factors that motivated me to think of possible outlet for entrepreneurial engagements among out-of-school graduates. Number four reason, people living in the rural communities, most of whom are living below poverty level, and who by all standards cannot afford to buy cooking gas or kerosene for cooking and to prepare their daily meal. The cooking stove is even too costly for them to buy. As a result, one settles down to think of possible alternative means to assist alleviate the suffering poor masses who live in the rural areas and who suffer most when severally the scarcity of these essential commodities strike. One of such thoughts is on production of charcoal stove, applying electrical electronics principles. My picture of inaugural lecture and source of motivation. When I was at the peak of my career, two different professors in class section where I was a member spoke about the importance of inaugural lecture in the university setting. Their explanation seemed to project that inaugural lecture activity in the university community is an affair that is optionally compulsory to every professor who wished to demonstrate a proof of his scholarship in his area, in his career area, in career field and area of specialization. And my area of specialization is electrical electronics. And that is why the topic is chosen from there. And I have to innovate to within the environment. What does the environment need to now alleviate them from suffering or from distress? And those of them who are poor, who cannot afford some other things, could now be told or be provided with something they could do. Eventually, when I became professor in this university, my mind flashed back to the earlier encounter with my former lecturers. I remember the value they attached to inaugural lecture. It was like an omen and also a revelation to me on what I should do as a professional scholar. My thought was like the Holy Spirit has ministered unto me on different occasions, what I should do at the appropriate time, which is now. I will make my presentation to briefly share, in part, the academic learning experiences and also address research and innovative needs to attend to the issues of the immediate environment, the rural dwellers, and the poor masses. The major objective is to inspire in the mindset of the growing academics. One, that academic is not only about the development of an individual, it is also about the development of his socio-cultural environment. Number two, that the knowledge one acquired should be plunged into improving the lots of the inhabitants, especially the less privileged individuals in the society, through innovative ideas and skills acquired during training in school to make positive changes in the society. And that is why I'm trying to inculcate. We should understand that at our level, and as a teacher in the technology education, we are preparing graduates who must be competent to teach in technical colleges. And the technical colleges, how it is done and how it is supposed to be, are those people who come out with acquired skills to service, to repair, and do some other works that should be done in the society, which should not might it be done by those in the helm of affairs, but be directed to be done by, they should be directed to be carrying out those activities skillfully, educationally, because they have to be educationally biased in technology and the skill for them to gear up and do what they are supposed to do in the society. And based on that, noteworthy is the fact that the best practices in the 21st century border on an evidence-based technology and engineering studies. Like as an engineer, I train engineers. And the engineers are supposed to carry out what they are supposed to design, to implement, and to test run. And that is what I did today, and I'm going to prove them. Considering that holistic education of the learner involves one, training of the head. That means to train the brain, to develop the brain, understanding and the intelligence and wisdom. Two, training of the heart. That means one who is developed, we have a conscience and we have the capacity to conceive an idea or skill to develop or to implement. And three, to train the hands. That is development of the manual dexterity, having the confidence to use the hand to do something. And therefore we have the 3 H's, and those 3 H's borders on the training and overall training of the human being in order to be effective in the society. And that is what technology education does. And then coupled with engineering, an engineer that stays in the office may not have known his onions, because an engineer is trained to design, to implement, and to actualize. On that, it is rewarding to posterity to convey the students into the world of work for worthy livelihood through paid employment with self-assured skills, or give them adequate competence-based training to make them settle down in own venture and self-employed activities as entrepreneurs. And who is an entrepreneur? The entrepreneur is one who owns, manages, and assumes financial risk in business venture. In this context, in my own context, in my own lecture, what is that business venture? It means financial risk in business venture is the courage to invest money and the resources into an innovative project born out of ideas and skills acquired in electronics technology to solve existing problems, and a great job for self-reliance, for self-reliance. Therefore, to venture could be on one, totally new ideas. If you can innovate in a totally new ideas, you are an entrepreneur. Two, new methods or techniques of doing things. That is to evolve skills that people may not have tried before, but somebody has the courage to do that. And that means novel ideas to solve existing problems. 3, attempting what no one else has done before. Attempting what no one has done before. And that is what I have done today. And we are coming into that to see what we have done to usher people in. And then what is then the entrepreneurship skill? If you are an entrepreneur, and then you have to develop entrepreneurship skill, what is then entrepreneurship skill? Entrepreneurship skill can be learned or acquired. Some among many entrepreneurship skills that can be learned are: 1, self-motivated skills. That means you have to, the idea have to be born in you, and you are desirous of having it, and you went into being or achieving that. 2, self-confidence skill. Yes, you've been motivated. You are able to go in and have the confidence in trying to say yes. And that is the confidence I have today to show you what I have done. 3, management skill. If you acquire these skills, have you been able to manage it well? Can you manage them well? Can you go ahead in trying to showcase that what you have learned, you can do it and do it very well? Number 4, innovative skills. Yes, you have come up with that skills. Having the confidence, having mastered it, will you be able to now innovate from there to progress and to produce? And 5, problem-solving skills. Where you must have innovated, some other things must have come up for you now to solve. It is this solving that lands somebody into the area where we now can say, yes, you have arrived. And that's what Biget did when he started about all these chips in trying to mesmerize the whole world today, and also some other scientists and engineers. Because of that, I need to come into a new novelty strategy. What could be done? Well, how should it be done for an engineer or a technologist to now surely prove himself or herself that, yes, this is a novelty? What we know today is that the four engine block, the 4 piston, the engine block is made up of 4 pistons, 4. And this 4, no other, it is not 5 anywhere. Whatever is a vehicle is running on that same basis. But what differentiates one from another one is the makeups around it from the novelty somebody puts in. And that novelty you put in, calls it, that is Venza. This is a GX407. This is a whatever Toyota. And in electrical electronics, we have such things as the skeleton, where somebody can develop, where we now say the short machine, the series machine, separately excited machine, the compound machine, from which we have long shunt and short shunt. From here, we can develop all these electrical machines we use at home. It is only based on this principle and nothing else. And we are going to prove them today. Based on this, I'm coming from with pragmatic teaching approach. This pragmatic teaching approach, unless it is adopted by an individual, the teachers of technology, the teachers in engineering, nothing could be. Most students see learning in technology and engineering as abstract. But if we follow this format, then most people will find it joyous enrolling into technology education, because most of them, I will still unveil why most people detest technology education now. That is why we now say, why the study of technology and technology-related careers appear to be difficult and abstract to learners in the field is lack of what? Pragmatic teaching approach by teachers of technology. Pragmatic teaching approach, what does it involve? It involves 2 key things: pedagogy and andragogy. Pedagogy deals with step-by-step approach, whereby a student probably in order to carry both outstanding students, average students, and low studies, they will all move together. Pedagogy does this. It is in education what we think about talking about bringing in something or individualistic teaching approach, where then you follow students according to their paces. That is what pedagogy does in technology teaching. Then andragogy is the holistic trial of the knowledge and the ideas conceived and actualized. And based on that, I developed my lecture. Now, having done that, in my lecture, let us now explore one or two integral that could arouse interest in thinking and reasoning to provoke ideas into real-life operations. Number one, common emitter amplifier with single power supply. And two, mechanical power as a function of electromagnetism. Stages in pragmatic teaching approach. A good teacher of technology adopts the following stages for impartation of knowledge in electrical electronics technology. One, schematic structure is provided. For you to teach well in technology and engineering, this must be provided. For the students to visualize what are they going into. A good teacher announces what he wants to teach his students, tells them what will be the outcome after this lecture. The students will be ab initio prepared and now looking forward to seeing the end of that lecture. And that is not done. Most of them stay aloof. Most of them don't understand. Most especially in our technology and engineering, where we have calculations, integral, differentiation, and rest of them. A good student could now ask you, how do you now apply this integral and differentiation into real life actualization? That is why, how do you apply all this in the real life? If those things are not done, they still sound abstract. And that is why most of them come out, cannot use their hands. They cannot do much apart from the theoretical way of doing it. And this I did. When I presented my paper, a keynote paper in Bahada University, Ethiopia, that country took me singularly from that town, flew me to Addis Ababa. And that was during the President Melese. And I signed patent with that country. Unfortunately for me, the Prime Minister died. And the Indians, the France, and the rest of them who were there, I was the only person flown to Addis Ababa to ensure that this particular item produced by me must not be misplaced. And today, we are into it. Now, number two, block diagram reflecting the structure is given. Of course, that is why I was recognized. Most African candidates applied. Just recently, that was last year. And the British government considered me. And that's why today I'm a consultant in Coventry University. The World Bank now came for me. I went. I'm working in a town called Abamich, Kichwamba in Uganda, because they discovered oil and gas in that country, and they are looking for the experts that will train those students in order to usher them into their oil and gas. And that's why the president, the prime minister, refused to leave. He said now that he has discovered this, he must see it to their end. They went and changed their constitution. That's during the COVID-19, and now retired back home. I'm waiting, that house is going on now. When they finish, we continue. Now I have given them the development and what they have now adopted in that country, singularly done by Professor Kelechi. Number three, Circuit diagram is to be drawn, designed, and modeled. You mustn't go into copying the circuits drawn by somebody to implement. Well, how do you implement your own? How do you show you are an engineer? How do you show you are a technologist? You have to draw and model the circuit. Number 4, the circuit diagram is compartmentalized and identified. It has to be compartmentalized. Those of us who play transistor radio today, you can see they are compartmentalized. One, the power section, the dictation, the rectifier, the circuit itself, then the output. That is the compartmentalization I said here. Number 5, function of each compartment is stated. 6, components in the compartments are identified and their functions stated. Number 7, a model is now constructed following the guides as principles. The product is test run for effectiveness. Then we are taking the first one, the common emitter amplifier with single power supply. The schematic structure is what I have given. That is the first step. If you look at that, structure, you will see them, they are compartmentalized into different sections. And those sections are 3, stage 1 and stage 2. Here, I think we cannot see it. We see it here, but are we seeing there? This. That's the input. That is the conception. To think of something and come out of something. And within this box, ideas flow. When they flow, that thing is now ushered into a next stage. The ideas are conceived. And then they're sent here. When now you want to try that to hand, that is the brain. We said, being developed, having the idea conceived. And then you try to now use your conscience to conceive. How are you going to do this? All of them together, put together, they are many. When they are many, you now decide on the channel you are going to follow. If you come here, one can go straight to this box. One can come down and then follow here and join this box. And then follow this box to the final. These ones, as it is, now the third track. Are we seeing it? Are you people seeing it? Here now, you follow this. So you have conceived one track, 1, second track, 2, and third track, and then follow. All of them come out. All of them will come out with common idea that goes into this box. This box, I think you know what we now the second output there, but I can't see my lights from here. What's happening? Okay, from this box, you get over there. Now, yeah. Okay, if you look at that, I want to point at what we call variable capacitor is there on top. What you see next is resistor. What you see next is transistor. What you see now is capacitor. Why this one is variable capacitor, this one is static capacitor, I'm going clockwise. Then the next one is diode. And the next one is ion core inductor. From these components, things are achieved. And when the students are drilled into knowing this, all these factors and components for developing, they will be able to now know how does a diode function? How does a resistor function? How does a capacitor function? What is the difference between the variable capacitor and static capacitor? These questions will come. Good students will be able to ask such questions. And in the bid for the teacher now to explain, they are more exposed to now understand what they are going in for. With this idea conceived, one is able now to draw the block diagram. How do you now get them coherent for you now to get that thing achieved? The teacher explains that each of the functional units contains different components put together to function as a unit. All these things are put together to function as a unit. And that is what today we have IC and integrated circuit. Many things are put together to function as a unit. The explanation goes further to indicate that the components are confined in units in case of any malfunction. You tell them, why are they compartmentalized? Is for easy identification of any of these components that goes bad. If we now say it is in the power pack, your indicator shows power pack. You go to power pack to know that this issue is in the power pack. It is not in the transducer, neither is it in the output. Then we will be able to locate, because there are many, you'll be able to locate which of the capacitors, because you may have a capacitor in the intake and the power pack, you may have it in the transducer, you might have it in the functional unit, you may have it at the output. Then which of the capacitors or resistors in particular. This is why compartmentalization is very, very advantageous. Now, in that, you'll be able to draw the block diagram to show that. Now, you continue. When you must have known the block diagram, one will be able now to design. If you look at the circuit I have modeled, this is made in Nigeria and can never be said, done anywhere. And this made in Nigeria now, we now put it where it's just like when we are growing and people are growing, we now say Abamed. Why are we saying Abamed? When we say those people coming from China and the rest of them, this is how they started. And if we'll be able to patronize our made in the country, we can go ahead and do more. If we are encouraged, that is why we must, why many people do not like going ahead is because they were not encouraged. After doing all this, and probably if I'll be here to handle this, if we see the input, what we see here now is what we call signal waveform. Signal may be voltage, it may be sound, it may be of any kind. But how do we do this? How do we use this, utilize it into functional unit to have something concrete, something down? If you look at this, this is transformer. This is transformer, the input here, where you see input now. And this transformer, the side facing this way is what we call input. It may be at 240 volts, but you want to utilize only 7, 9, or 12, or 6 volts for you to actualize what you want to do. And you do that. Now it comes in as an AC. It can't function as AC signal. You must find a system to now convert it, the AC to DC. And that is why you see the diode D1 and D2. That is the function, we call it full wave rectifier. And then as we are tapping from the middle, you see the dot where you see the arrow in that transformer. We have now stepped it down to our required voltage in order for this particular part function. With that, we were able now to see, you see R and you see C1. They are now the filter. When the voltage is, you can see somebody told me now that something is wobbling. Or when we came here, we heard this in talking or making. Those are what we mean as noise. And if they are done internally, it must be filtered off. And we have to filter off using that. What I use in my design is low filter part. That is using the resistor and the C1. And then C2 is now what we call the C2 functions to now usher in the signal into the system. And then R1 and R2 are potential divider. They are now to stabilize the information. The information that comes in, you have what we call B. B is the base of the transistor, C is the collector, and E is the emitter. From there, we'll be able to have what we call RE. RE is the emitter resistor. And through this, we have now C4 that bypasses. That bypassing means that every AC signal that comes in here will be filtered off, remaining the DC. And from there, we're able to have the C3, that's the C4. C3 is what I said now as a bypasser, but the C4 is now the coupler. It couples it into the output. Now, in my model, I have the AC coming in. Supposing there's no light, electricity, can't we now work? Now, the battery, VC, is provided, and that is made in Nigeria. And here, we now can now produce, couple them together. And that's Reco in our workshop here in this place, Nnamdi Azikiwe University. And I can, of course, please, bring one of the chairs. Okay. Now, after coupling this, we're able to come up with something, and that is made in Nigeria. You can see it there. What I'm showcasing now is there. Now, the amplifier can be of any kind. It can be of multi-tone. It can be of single tone. It can be of any way you want it. I know that most youths today, you see politicians going around of different kinds. People who carry the cups from the mortuary, you see them, we cannot design this. We can have them. And you see it, in this case now, we have the multi-tone type of it. And that is the coupling we have done. If a student settles down, yes, to tell the world, this is what we can do, he can continue coupling this. The senators, the presidents, instead of going to America to get this, we can have made in Nigeria. And here it is, a replica of whatever happens anywhere. If you produce more, the way you if I do it now using multi-vibrator, we can couple them and have multi as more as possible. The way you design is, so shall it work. So that is it, and that is amplifier and modified in that manner. Now, as we are into that, we can now go in trying to find out mechanical power as a function of electromagnetism. How can we, like I said earlier, these generators we use at home, we can always couple them. It was what I coupled here in Anambra State, the former Anambra State, that I represented the former Anambra State in 1985 at Kaduna Rendezvous Hotel. That was during the time of Emeka Omerua as a state administrator who took me. I was flown from Kaduna to Plateau State and brought home to Enugu. And they created a corner there saying Kelechi Okoye corner. And since then, all the things I produced brought the limelight of the state in trying to say that Anambra State was best in technology. That was then. It was after, thank you. It was after all the competitions I came first. And that was that. And based on that, it was the thing I performed at UO in 2001 that made me to become the first person to be ushered into FOTAC at Ethiopia. And from Ethiopia, I went to Canada to present papers in that place. So based on this, let's go ahead in trying to produce some other things we have. This stream of knowledge involves energy conversion from one form to another. Now that I said electrical electronics, this is the electronics part of it. What is electrical? Part of what in my vocation, in my career. And that is what I'm going into now. Now, my lecture is on DC electrical machine. And the model I'm going to use is compound DC motor, which is long shunt. It's employed, I'm employing the same pragmatic teaching approach in doing that. And what we have there, if we go ahead, this is the block diagram. You can see I'm converting energy from the input to the other stage. And then we have what we call link mechanism. In link mechanism, if you start your machine today, you say you choke. There's something meaning that choking and saying so that your machine should start. There's what we call residual magnetism. If the residual magnetism is not enough for you to start the machine, it cannot start. The gen can never start. And that is what we call that those little things they use. And what we use to put that is the capacitor or the inductor. And we call it inductive. We use inductive reactance or capacitive reactance in producing it. When we produce it, we are using it as AVR, automatic voltage regulator. And that is what we use in starting this generator. How do we do it? From there, like I said, this is how to start off and to do that. If we produce that, you come with this circuit. This circuit is what we call long shunt. Like I said, in the 4-piston engine, there's no other thing more than 4 pistons. There's no other thing in electricity, in engineering, more than these designs. It's based on this, you can design anything you want. And that is, I'm using long shunt. From here, Prof, my VC, sir, I don't know whether that's your point I said. I don't know whether you use. Okay. There's something okay. You see, this is the motor. I'm using motor here. This motor I'm using now is what you people, when you go to the quarry to grind your beans or to grind your gari or the cassava, to quarry them. That is what you use. It receives external power from that alternator, which you use. And that is what happens here. And that is why you see arrow pointing downwards into the motor or from the source going there. That is what we call VT, terminal voltage or applied voltage. RF is the field resistance. IL is the load current. IF is load current. ISE is the series current. And RSE is what we are series resistance. Now, RA is amateur resistance. RA is the amateur current. And E is what we call the developed EMF. It is this developed EMF that we use in trying to start this motor. If the EMF is not generated, you cannot start the motor. And these are the techniques the scholar must know for them to understand exactly what should be done to be a technologist or to be an engineer. In that, I came up with my own equation. I think sometimes they are talking about Emil Barry coming up with his own equation. And I'm coming with my own equation. And that is what you can see now. If we now originally, we have E is equal to, that E I mentioned now, is equal to VT minus IARA. But in this case now, we have ISE and RSE. Both of them, power, in that RSE, voltage is lost there or power is lost there. Voltage is lost in the RF, and voltage is lost in the RA. These are three losses we have in this machine. Based on this, we can put them together and configure on them to produce something tangible to solve our problem. Going by what we have elementarily, we say power is ability to do work. And that is what I have stated here. And for work to be done, there must be effective power. That effective power is after the losses in those places. It's just like if a human being is to work. If you eat very well in the morning, you will be able to come up with something. You can have energy to work enough. If much energy is lost, the machine cannot function so effectively. And based on that, when the machine becomes old and old and old due to power loss, the effective power reduces. And that means if effective voltage is now reduced. It doesn't have much voltage to power. And in that is what we call PEFF. That's the power. Power FE. This is now configuring this equation. We come out to what we call tau. This tau is designated into what we call torque. What is torque? The torque operates the armature because it works in cyclic form. It rotates. If you start your machine or you key in, then it has to rotate. And that is built into mechanical power. And that is what we have there. After configuring this, we'll be able to do this. I was able to introduce something above there. What you see as here, Kirchhoff's current law. They all play roles in trying to come up with this. And in this, we're able to, after configuring this mechanical power, we're able to come into this, what we call EIA. And that is now electromechanical power. Having done this, one goes further to find out what will now be the power working on those armature loops. We're able to configure what this. I was able to come up with this. The force you see, the force here, this. I don't know, can you people see it? No, this circle. Arrow there, the small is the radius of the, arrow there is the radius of the armature. And then the force in the direction is playing. The circumference means the distance it has to work. And with this, we come up with that equation 3 as mechanical power. Now, what's happening? Come on. Is it disabled? Okay. Now, with electromechanical force merged with the mechanical approach, you will see the equation. Then the T is what they now torque. And that is now the force developed to now operate in the armature. And that is the revolution it maintains. This force maintains a circular path. Therefore, it is called torque. It is this mechanical force or energy that is utilized to generate heat energy to produce the stove. And that's my wiring diagram, how to go about it. Those our rural people who cannot come to enjoy the electricity, who can do any other thing else in the rural areas. I want to tell us, you see, the suit I'm wearing now is not our tradition. It is Oyibo man's left, and know that his environment is cold, and they have to come with a tie in order to tie off this cold out of it. These shoes we are wearing now and the stockings is to wear off all this cold. Oyibo man, that is the white man, thinks of even the man wearing Waveform, all about to usher off what? Cold from his environment or from his body. I wonder why we cannot equally think of something we can do to assist in our own environment. And that is why I went into this. Can we solve it when we have fuel scarcity, kerosene, and rest of them? Instead of going to the wood, into the bush to fetch firewood, we can use charcoal and do that. And if this is not produced en masse, the prices will come down. And our rural, traditional people in the home and rural dwellers, we have something to place to cook their food. And this is in our workshop here, where we are doing the construction, and we're able to come up with this. This is the charcoal stove, cooking stove, using that motor. This is the motor in the middle. In the middle of this is the charcoal, is a motor. And then this is a charcoal base, and that is the EMF supplying the power to this place. And now that is the charcoal stove in place. And we want to see it playing. Can we see that? Can we see that? The charcoal operated. All right, before we see that one, as we did see this one, let's continue. Now, I want to look at electrical electronics as a program. What is it? Electrical electronics program, technology, is one of the programs in technology education. Technology is the intricate complex of the application of scientific and engineering knowledge. It is the practice of any or all of the applied sciences which have practical value and or industrial use. But then what is technology education? Technology education is the use of what we call the taxonomy of education to teach, to impart knowledge. And what is that taxonomy of education? The cognitive, the affective domain, and the psychomotor. When all these domains are not put together, a student may not learn adequately well. And that is what I have put in here to ensure that most of all these learnings are adequately delivered. And having there are many models of that. I went into the manual operated, the electricity operated charcoal stove. They are there, and many of them, we exhibited them, and they are there. So can we now see it while I pause for one or 2 minutes? Oh. Fast forward it, there's no time. No, back. So yeah, it is gone. It is gone. It is gone. Yeah. See, this is electricity operated again, another model of what we have shown you. In this case, it is inbuilt. The motor is inside, and then trying to put up this. There are many models. There are ones we use manual, like producing the diaphragm. We are producing using the piston, like those who are in blacksmiths. We do it manually. So if a rural dweller may not have money for the other one, she or he may still have money for some other one. So here it is, and there's no other thing there than the motor inside as configured from this equation. So we can move on. For want of time, I had wanted to show all the models so that we now see how we now can manipulate our technology into producing different kinds of products to alleviate suffering in our country. I so much know that we sometimes started talking about Taiwan, and they flooded this country with some implement and electrical gadgets. All of us rushed for it, but we can be Japan of our own. We can be Taiwan in Africa, in the world. Why can't we now encourage the engineers and technologists in this country? And that is my plea, and that is my lecture, and that is my demand, that the government should look inwards. And because we're trying to innovate and then look inwards and find what we have within us, what we can produce. Now, based on this, we can use cognitive. If we use cognitive, affective, and psychomotor, first of all, to present the conception, the students, is he or she able to conceive? That is now cognitive. Well, can he now appreciate what he or she is doing? No matter good or bad, you'll be able to say, well, if you made a mistake, you can go ahead and then modify and go ahead. What can you do about that? That is affective. Then you go in psychomotor using your hands and try, let me try out this. No, whatever happens is only to have the courage and try out. Maybe sometime you come up with something. We can see COVID-19, many countries started going into laboratory to produce what they call the vaccine. The vaccine, many people tried and failed, but then they are all there. How now can we now, you can say try, it's only to muster the courage and do something more tangible. And that is it. And in this, we're able to say that, that is to say technology education is concerned with the methodology for impartation of knowledge. That is not importation. In technology and engineering related studies, it has some attributes of vocational application. And so it belongs in the family of industrial education and technology, IET. IET is a generic term for a technical and vocational education and training, which we call TVET. Then we'll be able to say, it is only when you have this, one can enroll. And that is why we say, many people think that this education is education of the less privileged. It can never be, and it will never be. It is erroneous, because what is now making USA started with industrial arts education. And the first plane that flew was from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, USA. And what they started with is the industrial art. And that industrial art is what we're talking about today as TVET. And many people may not, because all of us white collar jobs. No one would want to wear the blue coated workshop issue. And therefore, technology is for those who want it, those who need it, and those who want to progress by it. And of course, when it happens. Therefore, in transformational benefits of TVET, you can now see the problem this education has is that if you see the on top, that is technology education. You can obtain it in formal education or informal. Then vocational education, you can obtain it through formal or informal. But the other vocational training, you now can only obtain it through non-formal. Non-formal means it starts from nowhere. It can start from the above or from behind or from anywhere, like the trainees apprenticeship scheme. And that is what people of Nigeria think TVET is. No, it encompasses all of them. But the most things people think of is that these are the people, the mechanics. Not at all. Many people, like I said earlier, beget is into vocational education. And that is technology. And most of them, Emma Agbari is into technology education. That is the production of the computer. And many people you can think of. What I have now is technology. And now you see I can use the battery. How many of us can configure a transistor or a capacitor? But all these things are configured and produced. This is technology. And if we can go ahead and trying to produce this, our economy improves. And that is what I'm talking about, entrepreneurship orientation, and then sustaining the economy. And it is only this that is the problem of TVET. People think those, the printed roadside apprenticeship people. Now, please, I'm almost concluded. And then what is the contribution of TVET to sustaining the economy? Let me use what I call structural component of TVET. Clearly gives the contributions of TVET to national growth. Better, no, let me take it again. The structural component of TVET clearly gives the contributions of TVET to national growth. Better explanation will be made employing Venn diagram. And that is my Venn diagram. Now, this is mine own, the portrait of my brain. And I have gone to bring the architect of the Venn, encompassing all in TVET. Here is technical education. And in there, you have automobile technology. You have the metalwork. You have the electrical, building, woodwork. I have told you, in engineering, to impart knowledge in technology and engineering is to use taxonomy of education objectives. And that is what we're imparting knowledge in engineering to our students, whom now we venture into entrepreneurship to produce and then develop the economy. But the problem now is that out of it, you see my Venn diagram now, you have TT. TT means trade training. That is the problem we have here in this country. Immediately one obtains his certificate, he thinks it is all over and goes into the street, roaming, looking for work that is not available. And then what I do when you can now do something by yourself? And that treaty, he said, when I was in Uganda, trying to groom those students into what they need to go into the oil and gas today, is trying to usher them into welding. We have arc welding, we have tag, we have tongue, and rest of them. Most people do not know this, and therefore they cannot practice it. If you know it, tomorrow, go to the oil and gas industry in Nigeria, you will see that you will be absorbed immediately. Now, the other one is a recipe, which is the training. People can have applied arts, cultural training, traditional training, social acculturation. The other one is vocational. One can now go ahead in trying to take some other traits, professionalize in the area in order to get job. You can now see in businesses, some lecturers from technical education who read business education are in the management sciences today. They are professors there. It doesn't stop there. So erroneous thinking of Tibet or technology education as the education of is bad bladders. It's just bad bladders. It is never obtained. It is for those who want it, who need it, and who want to progress by it. And that is why those of them who can go ahead in procuring ICANN, ACCM, MBA, and rest of them can find themselves other places. People who read business education can become managers anywhere. And then you go to the other area on top where you have technical vocational. If people, that's what we call ISO. And this trade professional training, which people use. In Britain, after your training in the university, you go into that. And that professional training or learning of that on your own, if you pass it, you now can practice. It's just exactly the same thing. What people do as medical practitioners, they can go for professional training before then they go into practice. You see, you can see, they call it internship. And then if a fresh graduate in medicine lives here in Nigeria, overseas, you can never go into practice immediately. You go into this professional training to get yourself acquainted with what is done, what obtains in medicine for you now to practice in order not to commit suicide or Harvard in human health. And that is why I've shown where the problem comes and why people look down on that. In conclusion, can I have my conclusion, please? Tibet vis-a-vis electrical electronics technology takes on distinctive character in respect of sustainable economy. It produces resources, consumes resources, and it affects the perception of youths and workers towards labor market for sustainability. The belief is that if broader system of education and training is offered to the youths, wider work horizon will be created. With these outcomes, sustainability concepts, practices, and examples for adaptation in the workplace will be assured. Thank you for listening.
I don't want to believe that was a round of applause. Please, can we have a real round of applause? You have heard from the 62nd Inaugural Lecturer. I will want to, in order to save us more time, I will quickly call on the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Charles Okechukwu Esimone, represented by the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Administration, Professor Joseph Ikechebel, then the Chairman of the Inaugural Lecturers Committee, Professor Richard Uwakwe, represented here by the Vice and Acting Chairman, Professor Michael Ezenwa, for the decoration. The Secretary. This is the ritual that will make him join the long list of people who have pontificated to celebrate their professorship. If you notice, now we. Okay, join the go. Onwe bi eje na abani. Onwe ife aga eme na abani ki we jezu. My Vice Chancellor, sir.
Thank you so much. We have listened attentively to this brilliant lecture, and we'll proceed now to decorate the 62nd Inaugural Lecturer of Nnamdi Azikiwe University. That's what I'm going to do now, so permit me to keep this microphone. So on behalf of the Vice-Chancellor, the Council and Senate of the University, I hereby decorate you. the 62nd Inaugural Lecturer of Nnamdi Azikiwe University. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you can now. All right, that's the decoration. We already have refreshments. Professor Ezenwa, I think you should take the vote of thanks immediately. And Professor Okechukwu will stand by for prayer. And we'll take the Unity Anthem after that, then we'll leave.
Thank you very much, our able orator and MC. Mr. Vice-Chancellor, sir, able represented by our own distinguished, renowned gynecologist, Professor Nnamdi. We're very proud of you, sir. Thank you for being here and making this August occasion in October. Thank you, the Dean of the Faculty of Education, who just stepped aside, the members of the Inaugural Lecture Committee. I think it was a very interesting presentation. Once more, we thank you, Professor Okoye. The other members of the university community, the technical crew, Ekene and his team, we are very grateful. On behalf of the chairman of the Inaugural Lecture Committee, who is unavoidably absent, Professor Richard Uwakwe, I thank you all for this presentation. And the MC, Chike, Udude, I didn't forget you. Thank you very much. And the secretary, Anikwe, Mrs., thank you very much for taking care of us. I now invite the person for the prayer, closing prayer. Thank you.
As he comes up for the closing prayer, I will not fail but recognize the Director, Academic Planning of the University, Professor Fedharis Ike Odumegu, because I cannot know, but in his characteristic manner, he will be quiet. No, you mentioned the dean, so I decided to take this one.
Yes. Please permit me. My double boss is here from the School of Pragmatic Studies to this place. Is our host, apart from being DAP. He is the director of this center. My boss, I apologize, sir. I didn't see you. Professor Ike Odumegu. Thank you very much for being our midst. Thank you, Chike.
And beside him, Dr. Mate Gente of Oka Window, America Window in Oka, or Oka Window in America. There is Oka, there is Window, there is America. Please, a round of applause for her, having graced us with her presence. Professor Chukwu Anuku, Afukwangi, he takes time to come here all the time. It's not an easy thing. Please, a round of applause for him. My dear Upper Senate Council, Senate, okay, yeah, please, a round of applause for him. And of course, the acting PRO, Odoko Fele, Jega, thank you very much. And every other person here, please, we sincerely appreciate your presence. I will now give the microphone, as I ask us to rise, I'll give the microphone to Professor Okechukwu for closing prayer. After that, we remain standing so that we take the Unity anthem. And remember, the recession is in the reverse order. So the Vice-Chancellor moves, the lecturer moves, the chairman, other people who have done, and so on and so on. We know how it goes. Thank you.
And we thank God for this very moment. We remember what God said, go and conquer. And what's done to me, at the course of this inaugural lecture is that the inaugural lecture is to present how you've conquered your own part of the world. We thank God for today, and we continue to thank God for giving us scholars who will tell us what to do to develop our economy. In the name of the Father, Son, of the Holy Spirit. Father God, we thank you for the successful end of this very lecture. As we move out, as you brought us in, may you graciously lead us safely back to our individual destinations through Jesus Christ our Lord. In the name of the Father, Son, of the Holy Spirit.
In a 6th song, please. Hail, Unity, pride of our state and our nation, fountain of knowledge and of wisdom, source of our hope and confidence, where freedom through education we get. With reverence, we honor you. Are you where we learn discipline, self-reliance, and excellence. Great Unity, we do hail you. We do hail you. Thank you. The recession is in reverse. The procession is in reverse order. I didn't forget Professor Nwan. Thank you, man.